Developing at 6, an apartment complex taped off in Hamden. What we're learning from police.
Plus, a tight-knit community shaken up after their first homicide of 2023, where police stand on the investigation.
Plus, a very active weather pattern continues. Another storm affecting part of the weekend, and there's another one next week. The latest ahead.
Plus, a historic home goes up in flames at UConn.
It's the oldest structure on campus.
What's left behind in its place.
And early voting, a wider window to cast your ballot.
I would love to maximize that, and I think we can do it.
The timeline recommended tonight.
And helping fight food insecurity, capital city kids taking the lead.
Fox 61 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Brent Hart.
And I'm Jen Bernstein. We are following developing news tonight. At least one person hurt after a multi-town shooting spree.
Fox 61's Matt Caron is live in Hamden now to tell us what we know at this point. Matt.
Yeah, hi guys. We are live here at the entrance to the Mather Street Apartments in Hamden. This is where at around noon, residents here got a message saying that they needed to shelter in place. When we arrived here, police were taping off the area. Detectives were placing evidence markers on the ground and taking photographs of several shell casings in the road. This appears to be where a shooting spree between two vehicles that were driving at a high rate of speed through the streets of Hamden and New Haven. Ultimately, a 20-year-old New Haven man was shot and taken to the hospital. We also know that there was a second scene on Arch Street in Hamden, just a few minutes from Mather Street. That's where a silver Nissan four-door sedan crashed. The airbags were deployed. That car was towed away. What's not exactly clear yet is where all this started, the exact route that was traveled or what led up to this. It does appear to be a targeted incident. We're told that there is no further danger to the public, but it did certainly disrupt operations at several area businesses and schools in the area. We're also put on lockdown for a brief period of time. This incident comes just one day after Hamden held a community forum to address a rise in crime, where at that forum we learned that the Hamden Police Department is severely kneecapped and understaffed in regards to their police ranks. They only have about 76 officers able to patrol the streets here in Hamden. That should be a number that is over 100. We'll continue to follow this story, gather any further details, and of course bring them straight to you. We're live here in Hamden. Matt Caron, Fox 61 News.
All right, Matt, thank you. Well, we are following some breaking news. Middletown police say that multiple arrests are going to be made after a fight broke out at the high school basketball game earlier this week. The fight broke out after a game between Weaver High School and Middletown High School on Tuesday night. The situation prompting Middletown school officials to postpone the games for the rest of the week. No word yet on what started that brawl or how many arrests will be made.
Meanwhile, multiple high schools were put under enhanced security this morning, and we're learning it was over what someone thought was a threat of retaliation stemming from that fight at a Middletown High School basketball game earlier this week that Jen just talked about. Connecticut Tech schools were put under this secure school protocol this morning. It was lifted after the threat was found to be not credible. State police releasing a statement saying, out of an abundance of caution and to enhance security for the community, law enforcement will be present at all technical high school home basketball games scheduled for this evening.
Well, we are also following breaking news out of Shelton tonight. Police have released body camera footage from an arrest that was made in December following calls from the public to release that video.
Yeah, we do want to warn you, you might find the video disturbing. Fox 61's Gabby Molina is in the Breaking News Center with the latest on this. Gabby.
Brent, Jen, Shelton police say on December 29th, they got an anonymous call from someone worried about another person's well-being. The caller stated that they got a text message from that person with a code for help. The caller explained to police that the person is in a domestic situation. Shelton police released 2 body camera videos from what followed, and again, we do want to warn you, you may find it disturbing. Officers arrive to a home and faint arguing can be heard through the door. When officers knock on the door, a man identified as Gordon Cole answers the door. For about 10 minutes, officers tried to get him to come talk to them outside as they explain why they were called to the home and that they're concerned about the other person's safety. At one point, it does appear that an officer pushes Cole towards the door. There does appear to be another adult and children in the home at the time. Eventually, officers tell Cole they believe that he's violating a protective order and attempt to take him into custody. About 20 minutes after officers arrive, things begin to escalate when officers try to place Cole in handcuffs.
Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Stop resisting!
Officers get him out of the home and into a police cruiser a few minutes later. Black Lives Matter 860 is among the groups who are calling for that body camera footage to be released. The vice president of the group says they wanted transparency and they are concerned about some of the things they saw in those videos.
We had concerns because Mr. Cole, if he did need to be restrained, was restrained into a pliable couch that did impede his breathing, rather than being taken down to the floor, which might be customary.
Cole is facing several charges for the incident, including interfering with an officer, risk of injury to a child, and 7 counts of violating a protective order. In the Breaking News Center, Gabby Molina, Fox 61 News.
Gabby, thank you. Waterbury police have now identified the man killed in that city's first deadly shooting of the year. Police say 35-year-old Edward Bosampro was shot in the common area of a multifamily home on Robin Street after getting into a fight with another man there. Residents say this violence is regular there, and one woman who does not live in the area but was staying with her mom last night said she was shocked by her mother's reaction.
She didn't even bat an eye. I was looking at her crazy, like, oh my God, that was gunshots. And she was like, yeah, it happens.
Still no word yet on a suspect this evening. If you know anything about what happened, give Waterbury Police a call.
Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Ryan Breton in for Rachel on this Friday. Weather around here today kind of dreary with a couple of showers. This on the backside of yesterday's storm, which is now swirling up over the Canadian Maritimes. Around here, a couple of showers. For the most part, these have been drying up, but there are a few more forming. One sprinkle around Manchester and another little shower, which could have some snow actually in it, moving into Litchfield County around Warren and Kent right now. But temperatures are above freezing, so not much of a concern for any impact. And actually at the shoreline, we're still in the low 40s right now. So through the rest of the night, there may be a random shower, otherwise a lot of clouds with temperatures dropping down into the upper 20s and low 30s. During the day tomorrow, a cloudy start to your Saturday, but we'll develop some sunshine. Temperatures getting to around 40, and with a light wind, not feeling so bad during the day tomorrow. We're dry during the day on Sunday, but the next storm moves in around sunset Sunday night, and it also looks pretty wet. We'll go through it hour by hour coming up.
All right, Ryan, thank you. A man was detained by civilians on I-84 this afternoon after he tried to run from a crash and attempted to carjack multiple cars, including a tractor trailer. State police say Francisco Rosario tried to carjack 3 cars that were passing by on the eastbound lane side of the highway, I should say. They say he then crossed into the westbound lanes and tried to carjack a tractor trailer. Police say he was detained by people there until officers could take him into custody.
Investigators are now working to find out what started a fire at UConn's oldest building. Officials say that fire at the historic Whitney House started around 6 o'clock this morning. They say that when fire crews arrived, the house was engulfed in flames. School officials say the building hasn't been used for anything in several years. It just now sits as a historic site on Mirror Lake for students and staff to enjoy.
It's the oldest structure on campus, so there's historical value to it. But the good news is that it was an unoccupied house. There were nobody living here, and no university offices were located there. So there's no worry about that.
Investigators say they are working to find out what happened and will give an update as soon as they can.
New details now on a deadly hit and run in East Hartford. Police have now identified the victim as 70-year-old George Tettaquarshire. The crash happened near Pitkin and Main Streets around 9:30 Wednesday night, and police are still looking for a suspect. They're looking for a car described as a silver Hyundai Elantra or Sonata between the model years 2011 and 2016 with damage to the front and driver's side.
Well, new tonight, the process is underway right now to implement early voting right here in Connecticut.
And Secretary of the State Stephanie Thomas presenting the legislature with recommendations and a new report studying early voting.
Fox 61's political reporter Emma Wolfhorst spoke with Secretary Thomas. She joins us in studio with what the secretary had to say. Emma.
Jen, Brent, Connecticut is only one of 4 states without early voting, but that will soon change. Residents passed an amendment in November, changing the state constitution to allow the legislature to pass laws to implement early in-person voting. Now, lawmakers are deciding what that will actually look like in Connecticut.
The legislature and the people of Connecticut want a program that is implemented in a way that is very safe and secure and that they can trust.
Secretary Thomas gave the state legislature a new report Thursday, along with recommendations for how to implement early voting in the state.
There's this thought out there that early voting looks like election day, where every polling place is open, but no one does it that way.
A big question mark for legislators. Just how many days early will people be allowed to start voting in Connecticut? The report from the Center for Election Innovation and Research outlines 4 early in-person voting models of 6, 9, 10, or 14 days. Thomas is recommending the 10-day period.
That enables us to include 2 weekends. And based on all of my conversations with voters, the weekend accessibility is what they want the most.
Multiple early voting bills have already been proposed and sent to the Government Administration and Elections Committee.
They varied from as little as 2 days all the way up to 30 days, I think is the biggest proposal we've seen so far.
But it's not just about the number of days. Thomas also urging the legislature to provide enough funding for municipalities to implement the program.
There's a lot to think about. It's certainly a process that we have to do a deep dive into.
And there's a bit of a ticking clock here. Thomas asking the legislature pass a bill no later than March 31st. She wants enough time for towns to prepare ahead of the November 2023 elections. But the Elections Committee yet to have a substantive meeting. Lawmakers tell me they should have bill proposals ready for public hearings in February. Jen, Brent.